Hi, my name's Jasmine, and today we're going to be going over how to make Shrinky Dinks. For the materials you're going to need shrink plastic, coloring supplies, an oven, parchment paper, or tinfoil. In addition, I would recommend having sandpaper, a stencil, tape, a hole punch, and some sort of sealant. Before we begin, let's consider what materials we'll be using for the project. If you want a certain finish, you're going to have to use the correct materials. For example, if you want to use colored pencil or crayons, you're going to need to use a rough surface. This can be accomplished by using rough and ready Shrinky Dinks or by using sandpaper on your shrink plastic. In addition, if you want that clear plastic finish, you're going to have to use something like a Sharpie, a marker, or a Posca pen. But just be careful when using Poscas not to lay on the paint too thick, because once it shrinks, it'll leave a clumpy texture. Now for making our stencil. First, we're going to consider how much our project is going to be shrinking. So shrink plastic shrinks to about a third of the original size. So whatever you want it to be, make sure that you make your stencil about 3 times that size. That's what these little ticks are. I've measured it out ahead of time so I can get the size that I want. Now you're able to either print something off or draw your stencil by hand. Once you have your stencil, you're able to prep the shrink plastic. You're going to start by cutting it to the appropriate size and then taping it to the stencil. This will prevent it from moving while you're trying to color. Once everything is prepped, you're able to start the coloring. Some things to keep in mind is that once the plastic shrinks, the colors will look darker, which is why you see me lightening up my orange color here. In addition, the splotchiness of your coloring job now will show through once the plastic is shrunk. So you're going to want to make sure your coloring job is as thorough as possible. You can check the quality of your coloring job by taking the shrink plastic off of the stencil and checking it against a different colored background. You can see once I take it off the white and put it over the blue background, I'm able to see a few gaps in the color and I fill those in. Once you're comfortable with your coloring job, it's time to cut the design off the shrink plastic. It's up to you whether you want to leave a border or to cut right next to the design. For my example, I cut with a very large border so that I can punch a hole in it. I'm going to be using this hole to attach hardware later. And now it's ready for the oven, so we're going to prepare a baking tray. I put down tinfoil, but you're able to use parchment paper as well, and then you're just going to follow the instructions that come with the Shrinky Dink. So mine say to set the oven to 350 degrees. It'll shrivel up as it's shrinking, and once it's flattened, you're going to leave it for another 30 seconds before taking it out. Once it's out of the oven, you're going to want to flatten it. I've used a spatula here, and I'm just tapping lightly to make sure I don't smudge the colored pencil. Wait 15 seconds for it to cool down, and then it should be good to take off the baking tray. And now, we're ready for our sealant. This step is crucial for protecting your final product, as the sealant prevents the colored pencil from getting smudged and creates a nice glossy finish. And the product you see me using here is Mod Podge. Once your sealant is dry, you're ready to use your Shrinky Dink. For this example, I'm going to be attaching hardware to the Shrinky Dink and to a bag to create a brand new zipper handle. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have fun making your own Shrinky Dinks at home.